Rolling blackouts, lack of energy supplies, utility companies urging their customers to conserve energy use. What's going on with the power grid?
Well, what's happening is a result of market manipulation that's really been driven by a couple of things: local mandates to decarbonize, federal subsidies that have totaled over $200 billion over the last 10 years alone, that are now going to be another almost $400 billion in the Inflation Reduction Act. And ESG policies that are driving this underinvestment, a massive underinvestment in reliable generation. And so as we see more wind and solar coming onto the grid that are proving to be extremely unreliable in the cold temperatures that we've seen over the last week, you're seeing more rolling outages, something we're unfortunately too familiar with here in Texas, as we saw Winter Storm Uri in 2021 lead to hundreds of deaths. And that's going to be the case that we're seeing here in the United States over the last week.
And speaking of that blackout in history, are the problems with the grid just due to extreme cold, or what's happening here?
No, it's not. This extreme weather is nothing new. It's been happening for decades. But what's happening is really this underinvestment in reliable generation. Companies can't make near the profit because the market is being so distorted by subsidies from the federal government, and in some cases, state levels are also doing subsidies and doing mandates as well. And so you have companies that just do not have the capital to invest in reliability, to invest in preparations for this type of weather. Unfortunately, they're having to invest in wind and solar to meet these ESG requirements coming in from financial institutions that are also part of the market manipulation. So we're being saddled with higher electricity costs, higher taxes, higher deficit at the federal level, and poor returns on environmental, social, and governance investing of our 401ks. And it's all coming out of our pockets, burdening Americans the most. And so that the least among us are just getting crushed with these higher electricity rates and higher tax burdens.
And with this transition into clean energy, renewable energy, how can we avoid problems with the grid in the future, especially as we transition more toward this clean energy?
Well, this is where the states really need to act, and something that we've been advocating for a number of years is to have reliability be the number one factor for electric generation when you put electricity onto a grid. You've got to be able to meet demand when people need it the most. And remember that cold weather is much more dangerous than warm weather. We'll see a significant loss of life. I think over 30 deaths in Buffalo, New York alone reported because of the cold weather and power outages. You still have thousands of people without power today in New York. And New York's really one of these states that's leading this effort to decarbonize, which doesn't do anything to mitigate a changing climate. CO2 is necessary for life on Earth. It's not dirty. It doesn't have any taste or smell, which is interesting. But what we have done here in the United States is we've produced more natural gas, we've produced more oil, we've produced more coal, and we're world leaders in environmental protection. I think that's something that people don't understand, is that we've reduced harmful pollution 78% over the last 5 decades, and we're number one when it comes to access to clean and safe drinking water. So we need to embrace produced energy. It's here produced here in the United States, and that's predominantly from fossil fuels and nuclear. That's affordable and reliable, and that's what we need to embrace and really unleash the American energy sector.
And expanding on that last part, what are the energy policies we should be seeing in America to make sure what happened doesn't happen again?
Yeah, well, one, you've got to push back on ESG at the state level because the federal government's just not going to do it. You've got to counter the federal subsidies that come into each and every state, and make sure that that money goes into some sort of form of reliability, because it is so distorting the market. So state policymakers are ones that really have to lead here, and then put in reliability requirements. If you're going to have electricity on the grid, then people have got to be able to count on it. And so what that will mean is your wind and solar are going to have this firming reliability requirement, that they're going to have to build natural gas quick start generation. So when the wind stops blowing, they're still putting electricity on the grid. Those mostly foreign-owned companies are the ones that are benefiting from these subsidies that are coming from our federal government, and they should be ensuring reliability on our grid. So there's numerous policies that we have at lifepower.org. That we're working with multiple states across the country to ensure that we have reliable and affordable electricity for everyone.
And speaking of life powered, how are we educating America's energy IQ? How does that work?
Well, we spend a lot of time with policymakers. We do extensive research, and then we make policy recommendations based on that research. And one way that we've pushed back here in Texas is we've told the largest financial institutions on the face of the earth that if you're going to boycott fossil fuels, then you're no longer welcome to do business with the state of Texas. And that model policy has been adopted in 4 additional states: West Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Oklahoma are the others. And you've got incredible state financial officers around the country that are pushing back against these firms that are boycotting American fossil fuel producers while dumping money into Chinese companies that could care less about human rights or the environment. And that's where we push back. And so that's some one things that we do as Life Powered. We work with policymakers not only around the country, but also at the federal level and even the local level in some instances to make sure that good policies are getting put in place that promote affordable, reliable energy, because access to affordable and reliable energy is the one thing that promotes human flourishing. And without it, it's very cold and it's very dark.